All right, so what is life to the modern man? Guys often talk about modern women, modern women. Like, don't worry about other people. They're doing their thing. What is life for a modern man? I think to really talk about this, you got to talk about what life used to be for for a man. So what life used to be for a man was he wanted to be his best in his youth in order to attract a good wife, right? So if you watch the fantastic, actually brilliant musical Oklahoma, with Oklahoma with a exclamation point, the star of the show, he is really great on horses. He can sing. He's good looking. He dresses good. He dresses well, and he knows how to flirt with the girl. So he is quite good at it in the movie. It's actually a very, very interesting study in that movie, in the opening scenes, right in the very opening, and kind of cements the kind of relationship that him and the lead woman. And this movie was made, I believe Oklahoma was, I think it was the first color movie ever made, or the second, or it was right around that period. So it's a really old movie. Like, everybody associated with that movie was dead long ago. This is really, movies are getting where they're like a piece of real history. When I was a kid, they weren't, but now they really are. They captured things that will never happen again. So we can watch them. It's not like a picture. It's not like a cave drawing. You can hear the voice. You can see the interaction. You can see the way men and women do their thing. And it's quite interesting. I believe it's very, very interesting, actually. But, so that was the man. The man had to be a robust, they're throwing bales of hay. There were certain things that you wanted to be. And then, in order to attract a woman. And then once you got the woman, basically you were off the market and you were with her, you had your kids and your family, and you kind of it was almost the end of your competitive life in a way. Like you were very competitive, right? With all your friends, with society. And then all of a sudden you got whisked into this world that was totally different. And the challenges of the man's life, a married life back in the day, was that you had to earn money, you had to build a house, you had to protect your family. You needed a house that was going to protect everybody. So you learned how to build a house. You learned important skills, right? You learned how to tame horses. You learned how to raise livestock and farm and things that needed to be done back then. Well, there was two different things. You were either in the U.S., you were a cowboy or you were a farmer. And that's in Oklahoma. It's really, God, that's such a study of American history. It really is an interesting, or even Western civilization. I believe that the cowboy and the farmer, that there's a song about that. But there was two basically professions for guys, and there wasn't many more. You could be like a bartender, but that was a loser position, right? You could be a sheriff, but it was extremely dangerous and it was just a few people, right? So that was the life as a man. You went from being very competitive, everything's being watched, you're making girls laugh, you're doing this, you're doing that, and then all of a sudden you were locked in now, and from now on, essentially you're in a different video game. You're totally you're no longer Donkey Kong, right? Now you're in a completely different game, right? You're no longer shooting people in a game. You're now all of a sudden in this building. What was that when you build civilization? That game is really slow.
Yeah, it's called Civilization.
Civilization, right? You're now in Civilization, right? And before that, you were shooting bad guys and craziness and that kind of thing. Not really shooting, but you know what I mean? It was just life or death. It was you had to make it, right? And then you made it, right? And then society basically gave you a pass. You were a married man. What else do you need to do? As long as you did a good job with your family, you were off the main grid of society. Nobody really judged you anymore. In the old days, nobody said, "Oh, that guy is out of shape" or anything. No, he's a married man. He's doing his thing. As long as he's good with his family, his kids are healthy, You know what I mean? Things are going good for it. He's fucking solid member of society. He got total respect. It was no longer judged on anything else, right? And just being a good neighbor, being a good citizen, maybe in wartime, going to war, doing his part, and then coming back, right? So that really was what men did. And what I'm talking about here is a completely different thing. Because okay, let me just give you in a nutshell. It is, I'll tell you a story last night. So last night, I was walking home. I was in Harajuku Bank. We actually had a great night. And went out and had some saba fish and some brown rice. And we just walked around. It was a fun night. It was one of those nights where we were just laughing all night, talking. And it was a warm night. It's like 32 degrees Celsius. And girls are out. And we didn't do much, but we just we're in a cool part of town, right? Harajuku, Matsunatori. And then I split. I went home. And on the way home, I went through this little street. And I noticed that the vibe was very good. There was a lot of people. It's kind of in an area where there's a lot of kind of nightlife, crazy nightlife. But this street was different. It was just I guess it was people getting ready to go out. So it was just everybody was in a normal mood, right? It wasn't like a professional mode, right? And I was sitting there, and there was a couple of girls who had just got on work, and they were trying to get somebody to do something. It was obviously they were targeting Japanese, not foreigners. And then I looked at the girl, and she looked at me, and I was just shocked by the look she gave me, because she, right away, I can tell when a girl's super attracted. She was super, super, super attracted by me. And I was just sometimes you're not ready for it. It's I don't expect girls to be attractive. I'm 59, right? I don't expect, this is not something I don't think I expected this when I was 22. I just was out doing my thing. But it will happen if you follow what I'm going to talk about as a man. What is our life now? So that experience last night is a perfect way to open up the discussion, because it doesn't matter your age anymore. What matters is what you do with yourself. It really is where you are, how you look, your style, your fitness, your attitude. You can't be bitter and angry and like that. What happened last night with that cute girl? By the way, this girl was extremely cute and was my type. And I was almost I was just shocked, And I said hi, and she was just down. I thought when I got closer to her, she was gonna see that I was not as young as she thought or whatever. She didn't care. She was totally into me. And I was just and she was so cute. I was fuck, this is crazy. And when I tell you this story, I'm talking about you now. This is what you will experience if you take this new route. What is the new route? The new route is a mindset first. And I'm going to talk about the mindset today, and that's it. The mindset in a few details. Basically, you are no longer going into a new video game. You're basically staying in the same video game your whole life now, okay? Which is youth. You're staying in the video game of youth. You're out there competing with people. You're keeping in shape. You like the beginning of the cowboy movie, Oklahoma. It's you're out there and you're a player. You're a player with girls. You're a player with jobs, youth, travel, resources, humor. You're no longer there's no longer a thing where you're an oji-san, right? Oji-san is a word for a guy who's in the second video game, right? A single guy who stays cool and in good shape and is out there. He can fuck any girl if he wants. He can fuck, not any girl, but he can fuck girls, right? Young girls that are way younger than him, right? He's a player. He's always dangerous, right? They never call him Oji-san. That guy isn't Oji-san. Oji-san means some guy who is in the other phase. So we actually have words that absolutely connotate where you are. Are you in that first phase or the second phase? And here's the thing. Here's the problem, guys. Is that if you let yourself go in that second phase now, say you get married, is you will lose all the skills and the physical, you'll lose everything that you need for that first phase. Because it's not just staying in shape. It's like there is a quick thinkingness that you need and a confidence in yourself. Like you can't let your confidence go to shit anymore. You can't just glom onto some girl and then just make it through life with her and she's got to approve of you. The whole world's got to approve of you. Like it is competitive until the day you die, basically. You could be 100 years old and have a girl who's like 65, which would be probably pretty awesome, right? Or even like 50, right? When you're 100, right? It's like it goes on, it goes on and on. And the thing is that men are complicated. Men are very lazy if they don't have to do anything. Men only work hard when they have to. Okay, men are very logical. It's like if there's not, like a lion, he lays under the tree, he's hungry, he needs food, he waits, he's sleeping, and then he sees an animal. And then he goes all out. He puts all his muscles, everything, and he just attacks. Like every part of his eyeball is just like laser focus on the target. And then he gets it, and then what does he do? He just lays around, falls asleep, eats some, gives it away. That's men. Men are like that. Men are not like what we've become in modern society where we're like robots, just working no matter what. That's not men. Men just see a need, they go do it, and then they're done, and they're lazy as fuck. That's one of the problems with being a man. It's hard to stay motivated. Because once you make a ton of money or whatever, then you no longer need to do anything. Because your man brain is like, I'm done with that. So now I'll just lay around and drink. And next thing you know, you're not competitive. You've got to stay competitive. You've got to eliminate the personal habits. You've got to eliminate the mindset of resting. You're not going to rest anymore, right? You're going to be competitive. You're going to be welcome in every aspect of society. You no longer can hide away. A lot of married guys, they're hiding away because as you lose your edge, as you lose your ability to compete, it just gets worse because then you get scared and then you know that you're no longer competitive. And that's why married guys a long time, they're terrified really when they get divorced. It's like the worst thing for them because they can't just easily get back what they lost. Like it's like their self-confidence is gone, along with their body, along with their friends, along with their knowledge of what's going on. Because a lot of being competitive these days is like using apps, being like a kid where you're able to do stuff. Like I want to keep myself where I can always do all the shit that is going on right now. Like what's the latest way to do this? What's the best way to do this? It's like you need to do it that way if you want to be competitive. You can't let yourself slip in any part of your life. You want to find the coolest haircut for yourself. You want to stay in good shape. You want to constantly be improving the way you present yourself in various situations. That's why I'm not big on tattoos, because anything permanent, it limits you in your ability to present yourself in a professional manner. Even if you wear long sleeves, you might be in a country where it's hot and everybody wears short sleeve. All of a sudden it doesn't work right. You can't cover it up. So don't do things that hold you back. Now, if you've already done them, that's fine. You can get around it. I'm not saying, but now that you have this mindset, you want to keep yourself so you're just ever ready battery. You're just ever ready. You keep yourself in shape. Why? With a lot of reasons. One of them is so your dick still works, right? You want your dick to still work. You don't want to be a guy who's just a blob and nothing works and there is no hope, right, for being competitive, right? You can still, now, for you guys that have let it all go, because there's older guys on this channel, and I'm telling the truth, that you know. And the thing is, if you let it go when you didn't know, you can still hang out with cool guys who didn't, and your life will be way, way better. Because the friends you hang out with, things will improve for you. There is hope. There really is hope. And it will probably be more like almost like a sunshine ray coming down on you compared to the other guys who kind of expect it, right? For you, you'll be like, oh my God, I can still do this. And like, it'll just be like, oh my goodness, like, wow, And there is like a wonderment if you let yourself go that you can improve. But if you really, truly want to keep yourself competitive, you can never let that happen. You got to fucking keep going. You can't let yourself, really, truly, you can't let yourself be lazy on any issue. You can't let yourself get depressed. Fuck depression. You don't have time for it. You just don't have time for it. Men in the old days didn't get depressed. They fucking went to work. They fucking tamed the horse. They fucking were out there doing what they needed to fucking do. And they sucked it up. If they had a bad leg from a war injury, they fucking sucked it up. And men have that ability to suck it up and just move on. And if you feel like you can't be a pussy any longer either. Your weaknesses, you just gotta say, fuck this. I'm done with this. I'm not gonna do this. I see what he's saying. He's telling the truth. I'm telling you the truth. It is a competition until the day you die today. And that if you don't accept that, there's two roads, right? One is the road where you're basically constantly going down because it's never ending, right? Either one is never ending, okay? It's a beginning of the end, basically, or it's competitive until the end. And I want you to understand these two roads. So if you choose the one that you're going to go down, if you choose to let everything go, maybe you're 89 years old, you know what I mean? And you've already had a great life. And you understand what I'm saying to 100, but you're like, you know what? I just don't have the energy. I feel happy with just being with cool guys, and I'm not going to even try. I totally respect that. There's a point where you're weighing out the options for yourself. And a lot of guys, they're like, oh, you didn't talk about this. You have to infer the rules from what I'm saying, right? So it depends on where you're at in your phase, right? But a lot of guys, like, if you think it's because you're fat that you can't be competitive, you're full of shit, big time. And we have tons of guys come to summits and lost 60 pounds in a year. Like that, tons of guys like that. In fact, I wouldn't say it's the norm, but it's pretty common actually these days for guys to make changes like that. Huge changes, and naturally too. And just be like, all of a sudden they're like a different guy, right? So the thing about being competitive is that yes, it is never ending. Yes, it is relentless. Yes, it is hard. Yes, you don't allow yourself to rest the way that a married guy can just be lazy as fuck. Because once you got a good job and the money's coming in, you can just come home, watch TV every night and drink beer. And unless she leaves you, everything's going to be fine in your little video game world, right? But the problem is, and this is what guys are seeing, is that ability to stay in that world, even if that was what you want, it just doesn't exist anymore, or it's not in your control. Okay, it's in a woman's control. That's the problem. It's not that some people don't stay married and happy. It's not that you can't kind of give up on being competitive and it works. The problem is you're not in control of that. It all depends on her. If she leaves you, you're all of a sudden thrust into the single world. And believe me, if you're not ready for it, it is miserable. Like it is just, you really, the pain is like so intense. Because as a man, the pain's intense because you didn't do it. It's not somebody else's fault. It's you. It all goes back to you. And you know it. And it's like, fuck. That is a hard thing to take. So you got a combination of the low self-esteem of not being able to get it up, not being able to climb a mountain, not being able to go upstairs. You got all that. Plus, you got your physical body not working. Plus, you got the way people look at you. Plus, you got this huge mountain in front of you. And you don't have the inside self-esteem to kind of reach that, right? You need to have, it really is not a wise position. You can do it, okay? And guys do it. But again, it's like lower odds. So keep yourself in the highest odds possible. How do you do that? You want to keep yourself in the same shape you were in high school, basically. So whatever your waist size was, that's your waist size. That is your natural waist size, okay? And your body has memory. So once you start doing it, it actually gets pretty easy. And in the end, okay, they always, all the fucking philosophers say the hard way is the easy way and the easy way is the hard way, right? So when you do take this route, everything just becomes the way you do it. You get up, you exercise. You know what I mean? You when somebody rejects you, you don't blame it on them. You don't say, oh, bitch is this. You say, no, what am I doing wrong? What did I do wrong? How did I approach? Oh, I approached her from behind. She was scared. Oh, I didn't apply for that job in time. I didn't get that scholarship the other guy got, right? I didn't, whatever it is, you can start to trace back and say, okay, here's where I made my mistake. Here's where I'm going to improve. And then you improve that. And it's like, as you probably can figure out now, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You got a cool phone. You're with it with phones. You got a laptop. You know how to use it. You're good with it. You can use it for work. You know latest shit. You don't feel out of it. Plus, you can do stuff. You're welcome. You're welcome. Like, I remember when I got a chance to work with a Groupon in China, I was helping them find an office in Shanghai because I had a real estate company. And then they needed a lot of things done. And the guy said, well, can you do that stuff? And I said, yeah, I can help. I can speak Chinese. I can help you. I can do sales. I can train people. I can interview people in Chinese. And then he goes, there's your desk. And I was just like, I called my partner. I said, can you run the company for a bit? And I'm going to be doing this. And she was like, no problem. And so I got to get an experience working for Groupon when they first came to China, which was a very interesting experience. We had to do media buys for ads. I had to talk to CEOs of like Chinese companies who had gone public, and they were the ones that we wanted for our ads, in the beginning, like hotel chains, Starbucks. It was like budget hotel and 5-star hotel. Like, I got to meet all these guys because I interviewed and hired personally 100 people, 100 young guys, all about 19 to 22. Most of them. There were some guys in late 20s, and a couple girls. There was a couple girls, but mainly I hired salespeople, and I trained them in Chinese, and I showed them how to sell, and they accepted me as one of their own. The other management, they didn't. The other management was different. But for me, after work, like the girl that was one of my salespeople, she came up to me and she's like, I'm pregnant. I got pregnant from the guy who works at the company. Or no, it was a guy at the next company next door. And she's like, what should I do? And she's crying. And like, I realized that they were coming to me with their grievances, and I really was their friend. Like, even today, they call me, and like my real Chinese friends are from the people I hired. Beautiful experience. And they totally accepted me. And I know for a fact they didn't accept the other managers. But for me, I was right in there with them, I had done the work to be competitive. Like, of all the management, and these were all like really smart kids, actually. They were all like MBAs from Harvard and stuff. They were all Princeton. It was all like, they chose them based on their school, basically, and their Chinese ability. But there was only one girl who was better Chinese than me, and she was really good, and she was cool too. And she was humble. She was actually pretty fucking cool. But people respected me because they're like, oh, that white dude learned Chinese better than me. They were like, fuck, I respect that guy. And also I worked super hard. And I was in the ground. I was not in the air-conditioned office. I was always out there. And I didn't steal. Everybody else stole. That was one of the reasons why we went, the company.
Your employees?
Oh, yeah. People stole it. People ripped the company off so hard because they had so much money and they were growing so fast. There was a million opportunities to snag shit. You could take 10 laptops a day and nobody would even notice. Like, literally. And that was just one thing. Like, it was just like people exaggerated their expenses and took money. And I actually told them, they offered me a salary. And I said, look, just give me half of that. I swear to God. I regret it now. But I said, look, I'm not going to be a loyal employee. I'm going to work here for a while and then go back to my real estate company. So just give me half this salary, and I'm happy with that. And I did, and that's what I did. I never took anything. I didn't even take the salary they gave me because I thought it was too much. I swear to God, I felt like it was like too much for what I was doing. I was like, what I got was plenty. I was happy. And I built a reputation in that company, and I realized how fun it is to lead young people and to be part of their world. Because these were like ambitious young Chinese. The management was different. It was all like Chinese Americans, very good families, good schools, good students. And they were all very smart and ended up doing quite well, actually. Quite a few of them started their own startups. It was like almost like Asia Startup Central. A lot of the guys ended up kicking ass in Malaysia and in China, in Singapore, in Philippines. They like, they're presidents' companies all over the place now. But I preferred the Chinese, the mainland Chinese that worked for me, because they were more my style. I grew up in a trailer park. I could relate to them. And we just worked hard. We fucking, boom. We fucking nailed shit. And it was fucking fun. And I couldn't have done that if I hadn't, kept... Young people are kind of brutal. Like, you got to keep yourself in shape because they judge you by the outside. Young people don't realize they're going to get old. So they think you did something wrong. They're like, this fucking idiot, he looks like that now. What a fucking idiot. I'll never do that. And then later on, they forget they thought that and they look like that, right? But if you want to be accepted by young people, you got to dress young. You got to look good. You got to keep yourself in shape. You got to be competitive because when you're schlocking around China in, million-degree heat, carrying a fucking suitcase and wearing a suit and making a presentation or whatever you're wearing, it's million degrees, right? And, you got to be able to, you can't be like, oh, I can't do this, or, you can't look like an idiot sweating all over the place. Like, I was already ripped. I was already in great shape. I was already accustomed to the climate. I was already able to exercise. I already spoke Chinese. I had done the work. A lot of guys, what they do is, when I get the opportunity, then I will improve. No. You improve basically imagine yourself in a basement with no lights and there's nothing to do. And you're just like working on improving yourself. What can I do here? I can do push-ups, right? What can I do? Oh, you feel over here. I can lift this thing. I can plan a business, right? I can think. I can talk to myself. What would I want to do? What did I make mistakes I make? You could come out of that basement or, solitary confinement with a very clear idea of your mistakes in life and where you want to go. There's things you can do before you're freed. And that's what you want to always be, is you want to do it before you get there. So that when you get there, you're already what you need to be. You're going to have always weaknesses because of you're going to be too tall, too short, too old, you're always going to have, color of skin, whatever. You're always going to have things you can't change. But those are minimal, right? Those are minimal, especially these days. People are pretty accepted for who they are these days. So those things don't matter as much as they used to. But it's like what you do with yourself. People really look at you the way that I was telling you should look at yourself. It's basically, you can't make yourself taller. You can't make your hair change colors. But what you can do is take what you have, what God gave you, right? And you can do the best with it. And that's really what I'm talking about. You're becoming the plant that you're able to become. Like, grow as high as you can towards the sun, have as big leaves or whatever the fuck that plant can do.
It's right? Like a bonsai tree.
It's like, well, bonsai tree is different because it's not doing the natural thing. It's limited. It's tied to be prettier. What you're doing is you are, in this aspect I'm talking about, is you're growing freely and reaching towards the sun, and you're getting your leaves over the other plants so you can gather as much sunlight as possible, and you're sucking in juice from below, water and nutrients and minerals, so that you can grow to the most natural, comfortable height and strength of the type of plant you are, and whatever you're supposed to do as a plant. Produce fruit, grow high, have big roots, whatever it is, you're growing to the max that you can do. You never become another plant, but you grow to your maximum strength and productivity, right? And that's what you want to do. And that is enough for me. That's enough. You can't become another person. I think a lot of young guys, they want to be somebody else, right? Like, oh, if I was, that, football player or whatever, I could sing like that, I would be happy. It's like, no, the happiness comes from the work, the discipline of making you the best plant you can be, right? And the thing is in today's world, it pays off in droves. Because most people, they let their weaknesses take them down. Okay, whether it's like they're just like sitting around getting depressed, or they're drinking too much, or doing drugs, or they kind of destroy themselves. Like you see modern women doing this a lot, with like tattoos and like piercings everywhere, where they have really limited the way they can present themselves and the places they can be. Because even if you live in, let's say you live in a country where you can just be covered in tattoos and chains hanging off of you and, whatever, eyeball tattoo, whatever face tattoo, and that's totally accepted where you are. Trust me, that's a small group of people. And in the world, it's not that open-minded. It's not that free. They're not going to look at you the same way that you look at yourself, right? You have to be ready for the judgment of the world, because Asian culture is going to see you different, trust me. And also native culture in wherever, South America, like people just, you want to be like a transformer, right? You're just like, you can a salesman, you can play sport, you can, coach a baseball team, you can, climb a mountain, you can like surf, you can like swim like a maniac, you can fish, you could model, right? You know how to take pictures, you understand the way you look, you can do math, right? You can study, you can focus on a new discipline and become very, very proficient, because you're not too lazy to read. You're not too lazy to think, and you can actually become very good at some very difficult discipline, because you realize that's what you want. And it all plays together. And this is your life. And the thing is, there's a lot of good things with this that come along with this. But I would say it comes down to a decision. Is, do you want to go down the road of sloppiness and basically slovenliness, laziness, tiredness, complaining, and essentially giving up and loss of internal fortitude and self-esteem, and put yourself in a position where somebody else's decision can essentially ruin your life, right? Or do you want to go down this, what I think is the very safe and fun route, is like, fuck marriage totally. The whole thing just going to tie you down. Like, you want to be, that will make you like that. Even if you find a perfect girl. Like, I don't even want that, even if I can get it. It's easy to get for me. I don't want it. Like, I do not want a pretty, sweet wife who's going to support me. As much as that, like a lot of guys would love that, I fucking want to compete to the end. I want to be fucking Bruce Lee down to 100, where I'm just like living my life, fucking bitches, traveling, making friends with various people, writing books, leading, teaching, growing, climbing mountains, vomiting, passing out, but able to bounce back, because you do have challenges when you do stuff. It's real life, right? Like, I actually passed out after I climbed the mountain. We climbed a very, very challenging mountain down in Nojiri, and it was a tough day. It was windy. It was typhoon, rain coming through, and I ended up being in a hot tub, and it was like very sulfur. It was outside. It wasn't a business. It's like what's it called, a wild whatever. There's like a river of hot spring water that turns all the rocks white and everything. And then I was in there, and I guess the sulfur got to me or something, or the climb, or the weather, or maybe I still had a little bit of AIDS, from the cold that we had, or whatever, I was just feeling a little bit not quite there. And it was up and down the mountain, and it was like, we were cold, we were soaking wet, because I got soaking wet down to the bone, and then I put on a raincoat. Yeah. It was too late. It was raining too hard. I just didn't move fast enough, right?
Maybe a bit of thermal shock.
Maybe a little thermal shock. Anyway, I got out of there, and I just basically passed out. I banged my elbow and my arm and cuts and stuff. And then I guess I was gurgling or something. And then luckily Joel was there, and he turned me on my side and stuff. And
overdosing.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, who knows? Maybe even saved my life. Like, I don't even give a shit about that kind of stuff. As long as I'm still here, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm just like that. And then we finished. Then I was fine again and went back in the hot tub. And I sat in there for like a long time. And I felt great. It was just that first time. It was something happened, And I bounced back. And why did I bounce back? Why did I do it? Why? We just climbed the mountain because it was there. But it was such a beautiful part of the whole trip. It really was. That mountain was a huge part of the trip and a huge part of the way I look at life. And the memories are the strongest from that day, of this whole summit and trip. Like, that day was the most clearest memories by far. Every little tree and every little, the wind and the chains at the top when we're climbing in the steep part, you know. It was like,
It was a beautiful mountain.
it was a beautiful mountain, and then it just got good weather on the way down. Just totally changed. Mountain weather changes so fast. And I was able to do that and able to be there and be part of life and experience that because of the other things, right? It's because I have confidence. I'm like, I'm not going to die. You know, when I do die, I will die. But, you know, until then, there's been plenty of close calls. I think in life you might have like 10,000 close calls. Like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Just fuck it. Just go for it. Like, really. It's like, what is a fucking close call? Like, I don't think this was a close call. Okay, this was just no big deal. But like, I you know, a lot of people would call that a close call because I was gurgling on my back, right? So I might have been close to drowning or something because I was passed out, right? And Joel, you know, maybe. But again, don't exaggerate things. Who knows? I was probably fine. I was probably gurgling, and then it was just water in my mouth. It was just whatever spit was in my mouth. I was probably fine. But, you know, anyway, it's not the safest
Probably
thing.
just drooling, not gurgling.
Exactly. I was just like drooling, you know, and dreaming of something, you know. But anyway, the thing is like, I love this life, and I think you will too. And it's a very clear decision, and this is what, my opinion now. Okay, my opinion is, I think the other ways of life are no longer safe. This is the safest way to live. Like, this is the best decision. You feel the best, you live the longest, you look the best, you're going to have the most experiences. Life will come at you. The richness of life can be explored around the world. You know, your friendships, you'll have a lot more friends than you would the other way. I mean, I just think, and people say, well, what about society? All of a sudden you care about society. Okay, what are you doing now today? How many dams are you building? How many criminals are you arresting? How many new drugs are you inventing? If you're not doing shit today, then stop talking about society, right? Because you really don't care. What that actually is fear. You're afraid that you can't compete. Okay, that's what married guys do. They're afraid. Don't be afraid. You can compete. You, however you look, whoever you are, does not fucking matter. You can be the plant growing to the max of your ability. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Maxing it out. Redlining your DNA. Yeah, redlining your DNA. That's going to be the name of the video. Right? That's the future. And that's the way to go, man. It's the way to live. And fuck it. There is no other path. The other path is, you can see where it leads. Yeah. You're just a pawn. You're weak. You're scared.
You ask for permission.
You're angry.
Everything.
Ask for permission. It's just like endless shit. And you're going to be left. Because in the end, nobody will respect you, including your wife. And that's what happens to guys. They get left, and then they know. It's just such a terrible, it's just like, no, you don't have to experience any of that. Stay 20, stay healthy, stay fucking rocking, explore the world, and life just passes you by like that song, like a warm summer day. You know, that's what you want. There's that old rock and roll song. And it's like, yeah, that's what I want. All right, guys, take it easy.